your dad? That's gonna be a big question now. A lot of people will be like, "Oh, your dad, NFL player."
Yeah,
Um,
you know.
did he ever did he ever give you any advice when you were younger about certain techniques, certain and did he was he trying to convince you to play at his position?
So yeah, my dad, he never really convinced me to play his position. Back whenever I did play left tackle and things like that, he'll give me little tips before my little Pee Wee games and things like that. Telling me this and this. I didn't understand a word of what he was saying, but I'll still just act like I did, and I'll go out there and do absolutely nothing. But that was neither here or there. But I definitely took away a lot whenever I finally did grow up. Going into my sophomore year. I went to see him in California, back whenever he lived down there, and he had, we were in the car, and I was asking him different players, and I was like, what, like, how hard of a time did this player give you, right? And then so I'd ask, I was like Miles Garrett, I was like Michael Parsons, I was like Aaron Donald, and my dad was like, depending on who, I was like Max Crosby. He was like, so this, yeah, this guy, this, whenever he used to do this, it would get me, because I had this issue, whatever. He's like, whenever he did this, it would get me. I would even ask him about Jason Taylor at this point, because my dad is on the older side when it comes to playing the game. He's been there for a little minute, so he was a rookie when Jason Taylor was. I don't know if he was a vet at the point, but yeah, he was a rookie when Jason Taylor was a really really renowned player at the time. So I even asked about my own coach. He was like, yeah, no, he was getting me with all this and this and this. So he definitely gives me different pointers and things like that.
Hmm.
Nothing too crazy, but yeah, it's definitely nice to have somebody who's been in the position and actually been in the shoes,
Yeah.
that knows what he struggled with and knows what he's excelled at. I also asked him, like, what is like super obvious to him. I'm like, whenever D lineman does this, you already know what he's gonna do next, and he'll be like, yeah, this is like super obvious. He's like, if you do this, then that clearly means you finna whatever. And I'm like, okay, so that makes sense. So I'm like, let me not do that. And if I
Hmm.
do that, I gotta steal it harder or something like that. So it's definitely awesome having a person there. And then for the recruiting process, he's definitely giving me so many pointers and tips on that. Coming in, especially recently, different things like that. Telling me about the visits and things like that, and what to look out for in the school and the program, and what to pay attention to. Now, money being a conversation, while he didn't have that in college, money being a thing for, like, him handling money at the NFL level, it's basically the same thing. Going into college now, which is kind of crazy, but he's like, yeah, be careful whenever a person says this or this. And, I really know I have a lot of people to tell me what I need to watch out for.
Wow, that's really good to have a former NFL player to and your
Yeah,
father to honestly give you these tips because not a lot of people have these nowadays, and it's perfect to have someone right by your side to give you what stuff. Not only them, he must have made mistakes when he was younger,
yeah,
and trying to teach you not to go through certain stuff that he did, but certain
yeah.
stuff he did that was good, and that's really really smart for him to do that to give you under his wing. Um, on top of that, has there been any like has any of his former players ever reached out to you and give you advice or about like and if so, who were the players?
I spoke to a lot of my dad's former teammates, but this was a while ago, so I was really young. So once again, I'm not really taking nothing. I was actually playing my 3DS at the time, and my dad had taken me to NRG because he played for the Texans. And I was in the locker room with the players as a little kid, and I remember I had my if I would have did what I did now, or if he would have did that now when I actually love football, I would have
Hmm.
flipped out. But I remember it like it was yesterday. JJ Watt had walked up to me, right, and he was telling me, he's like, "What's going on, little man? Like, how you doing?" He came, he gave me a fist bump, and I go right back to playing my game. I'm like, "What's up?" I swear, that's what he told me. And I remember it like it was
Wow.
yesterday. I was like, "What's up?" Then I went right back to playing my game, and then he said he was just laughing, and my dad was like, "You know who this is?" And then I was just playing my game. But I was not worried about nothing. I knew who JJ Watt was, but I ain't. First of all, I didn't live in Houston at the time, so I
Mhm.
didn't really get the whole hype. But I didn't pay attention to football much whenever I was really, really young, so I didn't know about things like that. I talked to DeAndre Hopkins. I talked to Russell whenever he played on the Seahawks. Who else did I talk to? I talked to Max Crosby. So I've definitely I talked to a lot of greats. Trying to think, I talked to a lot of my dad's former players from Virginia Tech. A lot of his former players. Camp Chancellor. I've talked to. There's just one. I believe he plays for either the Bears, or the Bills, but he graduated from Virginia Tech. He was a linebacker, I believe, or a corner. I don't remember, but yeah, I talked to him as well. He's really, really good. I talked to a lot of players. I talked to Michael Vick. And then my mom has a lot of these connections as well. My mom was telling me that she was just casually friends with Calvin Johnson and some more stuff like that. I'm like, just like
Megatron, okay.
it's just nothing. I'm like, okay. I'm like, cool. And she's like, yeah, Calvin Johnson. I'm like, what? I'm like, Mama, you know what you're saying right now. I'm like, you friends with Megatron. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's all
That's
good.
crazy. You're like, yeah, JJ Watt.
Yeah, and they all friends, because all of them were connected in college. So that's another thing. Like, just the connections they made when they
Hmm.
played whatever sport they played. Like, they know an insane, just a
Yeah.
ridiculous amount of like great players, that have like some Hall of Famers and things like that. So I've definitely, I've gotten discussions from some of them telling me different things, and that was really cool.